Hello, lords and ladies. Today we're going to talk about the Tang and Song dynasties in China from about AD 618 to 1279. On your papers already you have the objectives written down, so we're just going to take a look at them together, meaning what kinds of things do I want you to know from this and what should you remember. So we're going to look at discussing and evaluating contributions to human history that are made by the Tang and Song, so you need to be able to explain to me their contributions and make a judgment about how worthwhile they were and what their impact was. We're going to analyze the role of women in these societies as well. So we're going to start by quickly recapping where we had left China. We had gone through the Han Dynasty, which collapsed, and for over 350 years there was no emperor who was strong enough to hold China together. So you had over 30 local dynasties that rise and fall, but none really taking foothold. And then you're going to see the Sui dynasty come in around 589. The Sui dynasty doesn't last long, but once they're done, you're going to see the Tang dynasty come in. It's going to be founded by a man named Tang who reigned from about 627 to 649. China was divided again then after the Han dynasty for about 400 years, a little under, until Tang came in, a general who established the Tang dynasty and set up a finally strong central government, and then that allowed the Chinese to expand China and its influence into Vietnam, into Korea, and into Tibet. They set these areas up as tributary states, meaning these areas were weaker than China, and so in order to keep and maintain their peace and security with China, they had to make payments to China. So a tributary state is a weaker state that makes payments to a stronger state in exchange for peace and security with that state. Okay, and again, you're going to want to pause it if you need more time, go back a little bit, and we'll move on to the next. I do want to show you a couple of pictures. I want to show you a picture of Tang who you'll see, and we'll see him first. And I also wanted to show you a picture map really, that shows you the extent of the Tang dynasty, so that you get a picture of where it was located and what China consisted of at this point in time. So when we're looking at Tang you should see him there, okay, strong looking man. Sets up that strong dynasty. Tang dynasty, you can see a significant portion of even what today is considered present-day China was controlled by the Tang during that time. Okay, why did the Tang decline? So they had strengthened the central government, they had built roads, they built canals, they built and made the empire strong. So what is it that's going to happen to them that is going to hurt them? The dynasty starts to weaken. Tang rulers were putting tons of taxes on the people in order to get them paid for their wars. And the droughts came through, and you're not going to have much more time on this, so I'll have to pause it some more time. But the droughts came through, causing all kinds of havoc, and that made people angry, and so they rebelled. And once the Tang dynasty is finished, you go into the Song dynasty. Song dynasty is AD 960 to about 1279. It is a dynasty that is going to do a lot for China. They do a lot to restore China's glory from the Tang dynasty. Okay, so the Chinese rebels had, in 907, I guess we should go back a little bit, the Chinese rebels had killed the last Tang emperor, who was a child at the time, and so you had this period of frustration when the Song come in and remade it in 960. Restoring a strong central government, they don't try to retake the northern and western lands that the Tang lost. And China becomes prosperous under the Song until they, too, are conquered by the Mongols in 1279. So we're going to talk about what their contributions are in a moment or two. I do want to show you another map. And I want to show you what the Mongols look like if we're told in art. Okay? If you need more time, you need to pause it. We'll go back a little if you need. We're going to look at a couple of pictures now that show us First, the extent of the Song Empire is compared, you'll see, remember from the map of the Tang Dynasty that the Song is going to have. A little bit smaller, doesn't extend out as far to the west as the other did, but still a significant portion of what present-day China is. And these are the Mongol hordes who came into China and conquered it. So, what did these dynasties really contribute? Okay, what was it like to live underneath these rulers? Because remember, Chinese rulers are emperors, they're divine, they're considered to have the mandate of heaven. So what is it that they're doing for their people during this time? And we're going to see that the Tang and the Song really contribute a lot. First and foremost, they go to the Confucian ideas. Okay, so Confucius beliefs do still guide the society. That's evidenced by the fact that they still use the civil service system, which I'll show you a picture of what an exam would look like. Hopefully you remember that that means you take a test to get your job. They wrote a law code, they increased trade, they built canals that would help encourage trade, kind of continuing to work this way and the Tang. And they made the Silk Road safe and secure for trade, which again is going to enrich China and draw much more European interest because of the Crusades and the aftermath of that. So if you needed more time, you needed to pause it. And then we're going to look at a couple of pictures. I did want to show you what the civil service exam being administered would look like. I'll show you a canal that was built during the Tang Dynasty that's still used in China today. And then we'll look at a map of the Silk Road so that you see where these things went. So here's a civil service test. You see that the candidates go in, right? Here is the canal built during the Tang Dynasty, still used. And here are the Silk Roads that you see going through China. You can see the blue are the mountain ranges, and the deserts are red, and then all the little dots are trade centers. So you can see that it's a very important road for trade throughout this entire period. Within the society, if you lived here, you also would see that there's a strict social order that people abided by. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. You had three layers, essentially. You had the gentry, who were your wealthy landowning men, predominantly, obviously. You had men in gentry who would study Confucian ideals, and they would become civil servants. Then you had your peasants. Notice that they have a higher place in society than we've seen in other areas. And that's because they do work the land and they grow the food, and so they have more respect in China than you see in other cultures. The merchants are actually looked down upon because they make money off of others. And what they would try to do is educate their sons so that they could have hope of joining the gentry. But they were lower than the peasants, so this is unique to Chinese culture, and this value of the value of that is pretty evident in Chinese society. Okay, contributions. And again, if you're going to need more time, I'm going to pause this. Contributions to art and literature, short stories from the Tang and the Song, poetry from the Tang and the Song. Landscape painting was primarily from the Song. Calligraphy and porcelain. Calligraphy is fancy writing. You've seen that a million times. Architecture is the pagoda style, and I'm going to show you some pictures of that. That's where you have the curved roofs. You're going to see those not just in China, but also Japan. In terms of technology, gunpowder is a big one. Well, the Chinese didn't use it at first as a weapon, although they did use it in cannons, but they used it primarily for fireworks. Magnetic compass, woodblock printing, which was the Tang. That was harder, and you used one solid piece to make your print, so if you made a mistake, it was a big deal. And you could only make that print. Movable type printing allowed them to change letters around. They used the first paper money that the world had ever known. They had success with agriculture that allowed their population to grow to unprecedented heights, which we still see today. China's highly populated. Boys are always valued over girls in this society at this time. Women could not remarry. And then there was the issue of foot binding, which I'll show you a little bit about in class, where girls were forced to bind their feet. Take a look at the pagoda. Okay, you see the curved style roofs. This is wood block printing. You notice it's all one piece, whereas this is your movable type printing, where you can change the symbols around so you can do more. And this is an example of a Tang painting, so you can see the colors there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will talk a lot more about it in class, and